Hey guys, we've got another episode of BrainDead, episode 110 for you right now. Stay with us.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, welcome to BrainDead, episode 110 of this first season. We've got another good one. This one actually felt more like BrainDead. Last week was a little bizarre. You were with us in that point, and yeah, this time around it's feeling a little bit normal. As normal as BrainDead can get.
I'm just listening to this song really quickly because it's my new fave.
It's your jam. It's your jam. We're just
my jam.
How many times have we played this as the opening?
Well, what episode are we on?
We're on
Episode 10.
We had one time though. We played the Hugh Grant jam from Above Action.
This is
so we did
the
that one
9th time.
So this is like, yeah.
A little trivia for you out there. How many times have we played the card?
BrainDead, we probably didn't do it the first episode either. Because we didn't, I don't know. We might have.
Oh, no, we didn't. Well, we couldn't have. Because we didn't know yet.
No, but we did watch the episode prior to. I guess we did watch the
But
episode.
is it in the first episode?
Yeah. I think it is, actually. Well, we can go back and look at some other point in time.
Like
in
I
the
said,
meantime,
trivia for the future.
I'm joined by Courtney, but I am Kevin Ellis. You can find me at the Kevin Ellis on Instagram or Kevin Ellis 25 on Instagram. Did I say Twitter? What? I don't even know what I just said.
Who are you? Are you BrainDead? Have you been infected?
I am. Go. Just.
That's
get away from
Kevin.
me.
He's on Instagram. He'll fill you in more on that later.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's my turn. I'm Courtney Henderson. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter. Couhen.
Starman thinks that you're infected, so thank God it's not me.
I was trying to seem infected.
Good.
Thank you, Starman. That's why I was rocking out to the song.
Right off the bat, we
the
got
infected song. Oh my
Christina's journey. They're pointing out the fact that we're missing Gustav. And it's true. We haven't seen Gustav in 3 weeks.
It's sad.
Yeah, I'm missing him a lot.
I thought for a second they meant like here in studio, and I was like, we are missing him here in studio.
We are missing him. Johnny Ray Gill, if you're listening, we want you on the show.
We are missing you. I feel there's just like these empty spaces because we're also missing Lucretia tonight. She sadly could not be here, but we'll be back next episode as far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know. So, it was... In my opinion, it was a decent episode. It wasn't as great as the ones of the past.
Are you talking about last week?
Definitely was better than last week.
Oh, you're talking about tonight?
I'm talking about tonight.
You didn't think it was as great of an episode?
I mean, as those of past, like when we get a little bit.
I liked tonight's episode.
Okay.
So you can just get on board, or you can get on out.
Hey, well, I've got EJ Red Sox, who's definitely. He's got the same sentiment as me. It's not one of his favorites, but or she. Sorry, could be a she.
That's true.
But
I didn't say it was my favorite. I just said I liked it.
Well, it is. It was a decent episode. So we got a starter off point. We had the anti-war commercial, which was the big
worst
plot line.
Commercial. Oh.
And a terrible commercial.
Even if it had been on point as far as the topic, horrible, still horrible. But which I think was the point, because they wanted this ex-boyfriend who gets all the credit from Laurel's work. Right. I think that was kind of like a subtext.
And you got a point there. And I think the big point is that he was so out of touch with just what has been going around, what has been going on in Washington throughout this entire season. It has nothing to do with the 1%. It has everything to do with extremism, and that's what Laurel has been in tune to through her experience in DC throughout this entire summer. And this guy is just he's coming out of nowhere, and he's got these points that have nothing to do with the true problems that are facing the country.
Absolutely. Why he was even hired for this, I think it has to do with the fame, because clearly they made it sound like he's super famous now.
Seemed it.
But Laurel, of course, is super uncomfortable. As we find out, it's because they've dated in the past.
Right.
And I love how he said it's just like old times. And for Laurel, you're like, that's not a good thing.
Right. No, it was awkward. It didn't feel like that there was at any point in time, except for the very beginning. The very beginning, it seemed like, okay, these guys doing a little bit of catching up, but at no point in time did I think, oh, they were a couple at one point in time.
Till he tried to kiss her at the end.
Oh, God, that was so awkward, too. It made no sense.
I think that's the point. I think it's just another statement on how out of touch he is with reality. When he talks about, we didn't want to just change the world, we wanted to change reality. Like, and he uses the word reality, and I didn't write it down, so I don't know the exact quote of how he said it, but hopefully you know the part I'm talking about. And it was just kind of ridiculous. And then again, he's like, it's like old times, and then we see at the end, of course, it's a completely different commercial that he takes complete credit for.
Right. Just an ass.
Which I'm surprised. I mean, at the end of his, and maybe that's part of his narcissism, or I guess you would say, he put like it's a Ben Valderrama film at the end of the commercial. Are you kidding me?
Who does that?
Have you ever seen a commercial with a credit listed?
You don't get end title credits.
Right? So I thought it was interesting though, because it made me wonder, since we didn't see that, he's taking credit in these interviews now. So I'm like thinking, Laurel, why didn't you change it to your name? Because basically no footage that we saw was footage that he shot.
Well, I mean, she can't, just because she is an aide to her brother, just for simple campaign purposes.
Oh my gosh,
Can't
you just
happen.
blew my mind.
But
I was totally thinking, like, why wouldn't she just take credit? But she can't. What
exactly.
a bummer deal.
She can't do it, but
I'm pretty
still,
sure she
for
got
him,
her music in there. That was her choir, right?
Yeah, it was. Good catch. That was definitely her choir from what is the country? Viewers, what is the country? Is it Morocco?
No, it's definitely.
It's a
I
lot
wanted to say
more...
Malaysia. We are both wrong.
Well, yeah.
We don't know.
Probably
it's some obscure.
Anybody remembers? Hit us up.
Please
in the chat room.
tell us. Yes.
I'd love to remember, because it was ambiguous.
You mean you'd love to be told?
I'd love to remember, because at one
That's
point
not
in time,
gonna happen.
it was there.
We're giggly tonight, folks.
Yeah, we are giggly. At what point in time? Okay. What did you think of Laurel holding back her criticism of the commercial to the degree that she felt? Because at no point in time, I mean, she's a strong character. She's a strong woman who can and has spoken her mind many of times with far more powerful people. This Ben guy is nothing, and she doesn't go there.
He's an ex-boyfriend.
Still, that's almost more incentive to kind of ram it in his face that he did a shitty job at this.
I think that she didn't, because she knows how he is, and it's like at the one point where he's like, well, we just need to get a fresh set of eyes on this.
Yeah, that
because he's like, basically like, you're wrong for thinking I'm wrong, so let's ask someone else. And we're going to keep asking someone else until they agree with me. Like, that's kind of the attitude. And I think going into it, she knew that. And so it's just like, I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to be the one. I'm going to get sucked into this. Like, he's not going to listen, So I think it was just kind of like, we broke up for a reason, and I don't want to go back down that road. In general, not even romantically. Like, she's in something. I loved that.
I just want.
So that's what I liked about this episode. For the first time in a while, I feel like it was Laurel trying to hold it together, and Gareth being the one kind of like disconnected or kind of like pushing away. And he's such a good guy. I love his character. If he was a real man, call me, but he's not. And so Laurel, I think, kind of feels that, like, okay, he's listening. You said, don't call, leave me alone, and he is, and it's a little bit lonely without the phone ringing. He
is a gentleman. He is,
right?
to every point. He's just the kind of guy that you. I mean, I don't want to sound too lovey-dovey about Aaron's character, but he's just the good guy, and you just want him to win. And he gives the space that's necessary, the space that she's requested. And because of that, I felt from Laurel in this episode, especially when they were outside of the Washington Monument again. I feel like that's their favorite spot, is they're walking the National Mall all the time. But you could sense from her that she has been missing the closeness and the role of confidant that he has played over this whole season.
Right.
He hasn't been there lately, and that's what's missing.
And I also loved about his character that he said, you know, I have a job to do, and I love my job, and I believe in what I believe in, and I love what I believe in, and you know,
that was
it's
important.
Just too different. You know, and do I agree that they're too different? Yes. I don't think that they're too different. I think that they could definitely, if they want to make something work, they can make something work.
Right.
I believe that in about any two people that are willing to be committed. That it's a choice and you just kind of push forward together. Do I love that he found himself a little bit in this departure from her, or in this time away, or refound himself, you know, maybe kind of came a little back to square one for himself, and I love that, and that he was like holding his ground on that, because he's been there a lot longer than she has, and he hasn't been handed anything.
Right.
I mean, now, you know, I don't think he's some poor kid that's fought tooth and nail for every opportunity, but you know, he's not just, you know, in town for 6 months trying to get some money for like the real deal of what your life is about.
And I think the big distinction this episode is that for once Laurel was saving Gareth's ass. That hasn't really happened much. It's always the other way around. Gareth is always saving Laurel, and this time around she deletes the clip, does not make public any of the comments that were made to the videographer. And it was important that Laurel was able to be there for Gareth in the way that he has always been for her.
Right.
That was nice to see.
Absolutely. And I think, to her point, it didn't really fit in the story. Could she have used it? Would it have helped in some way? Of course. Getting the chief of staff of Red, Wheatus, saying the thing, you know, with the tone that he had, absolutely. But it didn't fit into the video, and
there's a lot of stuff that was wrong with that video. There's a lot of stuff. From the lunge, I don't know if you guys thought the same thing, but when I thought that Ben put the lunge that Noah threw over at Ben, it was just stuck in the middle of the commercial with no rhyme or reason. It was just thrown on in there. There was no context to it. It made no sense. So I thought that the whole build-up for the fact that it could be a big player, and it was exactly what Ben needed in his commercial, was total nonsense, because it provided no material support for
there's
his
no
cause.
substance to it at all.
Not at all.
And Laurel was able to use it in a way that made sense, and I liked her whole video, because at first, you tell us what you thought. I thought she was gonna go down the space bug, like, black hole.
Yeah, it was getting.
And then she said an infection, I was like, I'm right. And then the way that she 100%, I think she talked about the space bug infection. You know what I mean? She just had to tell that story with a voice that would be heard.
Exactly.
And not completely mocked.
Right. She knows where she wants to go with that thought, but you have to taper it down for others to believe your outlandish concept. But speaking of outlandish individuals, Ella and Red bring on in the one-wayers and the no-wayers to coordinate with one another. And this is a first. So to really nail it home, they brought back two characters that we saw at the beginning of the season. Second episode, I think. Noah,
or maybe third.
But around that time. Noah, and I can't remember the girl's name. Can't remember her name, but the two characters who got in the fender bender with one another were brought back in Red's office and have now seen eye to eye now that Red and Ella have brought to their attention.
They're 2 peas in a pod.
They can bring the government down because the government is rigged, and they can fix it by uniting.
That's what I said.
Is it now?
That was so... I did think it was interesting and a good point that Red and Ella were making, that you're not as different as you think you are, because whenever somebody's tried to talk politics with me, or politics have come up, I mean, I like the news. I like following what's going on in our country. I like knowing what's going on in the world that I'm a part of. So I have my opinions, and not everybody has the same opinions, of course. But it's so frustrating when you're speaking about or debating, as it sometimes turns out, politics or beliefs, and you're looking across the table or, whatever from somebody, and it's like, we're really not that different. We all want the same thing. We all want peace and happiness. We want people to prosper. We don't want people to go hungry. It's just how you accomplish that result that people don't necessarily agree on. And so it always gets frustrating to me when you get that person that's like, you hate poor people, or, like, you hate rich people. And it's like, no, that's not what either side is saying.
Right. And so Red and Ella bring the big picture into the frame.
Ugh, yes.
In the worst way possible. But they do it, and now they've got two extremist views that are now in a coordinated effort.
One view. There's only one view now.
One view, and that's
war.
The view of war, exactly. So what did you think of Red's growl at the end of his monologue?
Oh my gosh. If you didn't watch this show alone, I wonder if you did what we did, because he's standing there with his whatever that was, and we both kind of went, looked at each other like, did that just happen? Did the editors miss that? Did that not get cut? And obviously it was very intentional and very, it was no accident.
Right. My hope is that Tony Shalhoub was just doing that to the cameraman, and then in the editing room they're like, let's just throw that in there.
It's Red.
Let's do it.
He can do that. Oh my gosh. You have to find out if that's what happened.
Right?
Oh, yes. It's very possible that was not written in. That's like one of those like happy moments.
It was. Yeah, so that was brilliant. But later on, the Jermaine issue becomes...
I like that we get to see her again.
Because it has been since early in the season that we've seen Jermaine.
So I'm glad she's back.
Every time Trump talks on the TV, her baby kicks harder. What did you think of that?
I really did, and of course, I just feel like I totally got razzed by the trailer, the teasers from last week, because I totally thought that there was some sort of infection situation going on, and I thought that this was going to give us some insight, getting Rochelle in there to do some of her testing or whatever, and I thought we would find something that we did not find. Because I agree. I'm just going to throw it out there. Gustav probably would have found something.
Yeah, let's... we know why Gustav...
Mark my words,
but
everybody.
I will have to say that Rochelle really caught... I don't know how you guys felt, but I felt that Rochelle was a little off this episode. There was something about her that wasn't right. She was they were doing a overhead shot of her a couple of times, and it made her look a little bit more menacing. I know that it was intentional by the director, and like she her eyes were fleeting at one point in time. She had this the stare towards Laurel that was so eerie, and then the fact that she avoided really siding with Laurel this time around about the possibility that this child could be infected, and the fact that she said, "Oh yeah, that song's kind of been in my head every
Do you
once in a while."
think that maybe dealing with the baby infected both doctors?
Dealing with the baby,
like when they were doing the testing and all the stuff, that process somehow infected them. And that's why both of them, I mean, because technically we don't know that the male doctor, I didn't write his name down, we don't know for sure that he is infected, but we're pretty dang sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd say 100%. But the Rochelle, though, I don't know if she dealt with Jermaine prior to Laurel bringing it to her attention.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Because in the hospital is when she'd already, I think, dealt with Jermaine once.
Well, that was my question to you. Is that because when Laurel came to Rochelle and she explained to her, "Hey, I think something's going on. Can you check this out?" And that's when that scene was when Rochelle said, "Oh yeah, that song's been in my head for a little while." You know?
Well, she said I caught myself whistling it because
Yeah.
it's like a good song that
catchy.
people listen to. It's
Right.
infectious, she says.
And the way that she said that's when her eyes
See, but I feel like
listened.
I'm not buying it. I feel like those writers just wanted you to sit here and talk about this
tricking
tonight.
us. Yeah.
Well, I feel
they're
like it was
succeeding.
I feel like it was kind of perhaps just a way of her kind of like playing on words. You know, it's infectious, like knowing what she's saying.
I think it's possible. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel.
Okay, that's such a cop out. Of course, it's possible that she's infected.
Aha! See, EJ Red Sox. Something seemed odd about Rochelle this episode. So I'm not the only one.
But
And then we've
do you
got,
think she's infected?
We got somebody from. It is an Asian country. I don't
Maybe
know.
that's just how she acts when Gustav's not around. Maybe she's cranky because he's gone.
The ringtone gave it away. Yeah.
On the first doctor. Yes,
the
the
first
ringtone.
doctor.
Yeah,
The ringtone
yeah.
gave it away.
So because Laurel was acting weird too, like she was. I don't know. When it comes to the whole baby situation.
Yeah. We'll drop that.
That was very anticlimactic. From the way the teaser went last week, there's a monster. Like, and I get it. Like, I'm sure lots of pregnant women have said something like that.
Yeah.
They didn't mean it the way Laurel took it. So
Right.
yes, like
Laura's
a
pretty
little
paranoid.
hypersensitive to the whole
Yeah.
situation.
And it turns out the baby might not be the one that is at all infected. It might just be Jermaine's reaction to it all herself.
Or maybe Jermaine is infected.
Well, I think that's
Exactly what I was implying. Shh.
Jermaine. We will get to Jermaine at the
crying.
end of this this after show.
Yeah, because let's
but
talk about her husband.
I want to talk about Luke cheating again. What the hell, Luke?
I honestly didn't think he was still cheating. I thought he was only cheating with Scarlett. First of all.
Well,
And that had ended when she got caught, or they got caught by Laurel, and like outed, and Jermaine found out. But
we had Margie. I think Margie had made an appearance prior to.
Yes.
So
okay.
we knew that they had a fling. So we knew okay.
It was
so
Jamie, I guess.
Jamie
that
was the
I-
one just left field.
like,
She came out of nowhere.
Really throwing it out there.
Yeah. So it shows that he has been involved with several women since.
We can't keep track. Is the point?
Laurel doesn't even want to know, but she is doing her part as his sister to stand up for Jermaine. But at some point in time, like I feel like at the beginning of the season, there was a moment in time where Laurel did have an intervention with her brother and said, "Enough is enough. Like I can't do this
Yeah.
anymore." And now he's getting another second chance from his sister. And I feel like she really went easier on him this time than she should have. This was the final straw. He is 9 months pregnant, or she is 9 months pregnant with his child, and he's still doing this crap. I was floored, but
Yeah, the whole thing. It's. I like Luke. He's like the only politician, and maybe that's the statement they're trying to make. And I say they meaning the Kings, is that your personal physical indiscretions do not in any way impact the way that you can push policy and get things done for the greater good of the country or world. Because of all of the politicians we've seen, he seems to be the most like he's the not infected one. So, he's the most reasonable about it, and yet he can't keep a pair of pants on.
he has no for somebody who does have a lot of self-control when he is amongst his colleagues in the Senate. He doesn't have that self-control outside of the workplace.
And since we're talking about Luke, I am like bracing myself for this. How stupid did you think it was that he took Scarlett to dinner to tell her, we stopped having sex months ago, but I just want you to know we're still not having sex.
I don't know where
He was
or
trying to
how.
get laid.
Is that your thought process?
Well, I mean,
Because
yes and no. It's one of those where, like, I don't think he was, because I think every single time he did go to those women and go to tell them that it was over, like I think he genuinely was trying to.
Yeah, I agree. Scarlett was the one that was unsure of, because he did have a bad experience in the bedroom the last time that they were together. It was bizarre. She was like a stiff
Yeah.
board. Didn't, you know.
Right. And it's just like, she left, but it's like, Laurel just said, keep your pants. It's like, but how? It's like,
He felt,
stop
it seemed like he
going
was
to
a
dinner
child.
with and bars and all, like, stop going to all the places that you go with women before you have sex with them.
Exactly.
Hello.
Exactly.
And then the next like scene with him is sitting at dinner with Scarlett, which we know she's not going to have sex because she's infected and she doesn't want to. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because she said, I'll give my regards. Give my regards to Jermaine. What? No.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I'll give my regards. She's going to go talk to her.
But then again,
She's going to infect her.
wait, hold up though. Now we're on this topic. Okay, let's go under the theory that Jermaine was not infected in the hospital room at all. Mm-hmm. But after her dinner with, or after Luke's dinner with Scarlett, and after Scarlett says that,
And then
in
goes
that
and
in-between
gives her
time-
regards to Jermaine.
Exactly.
Shh.
Do you think?
Shh.
I think it's
Stop crying. That's
I think
very
it's
possible.
I do, because it was a little bizarre, because
Whoa.
it didn't.
She
did not
wasn't
seem it.
infected in the hospital
I don't
the way
believe
she was
so.
acting.
No.
I don't think either.
Guys, hit us up in the chat room. Let us know what you think. But that's my theory, is that Scarlett had something to do with Jermaine's
Or tweet us.
situation at the end. Or tweet
If you're
us.
watching this, not live.
Tweet us. I will hopefully,
Later.
Yeah. I'll get on Twitter.
You'll get on Twitter.
I'm the worst.
That's
at
a
Twitter.
joke.
I'm the worst at Twitter. I need to get on there. I'm on there. I'm just not on there. All right. So Gareth. So he was interviewed by Ben, and he was brought in by Ben to discuss the Republican-Democrat relations, offer his opinion. So
He was brought in to
So
talk about
he
that.
thinks.
Yeah.
But Ben really goes on in there to interrogate him about the one-wayers and
His founding of it.
yeah, his founding of the one-wayers. Gareth is a little thrown off. He's in the hot seat.
Well, it doesn't help that Laurel's standing right there, because it's one of those guilty by association. It looks like she set him up,
Right, it does.
and she, as we know, did not at all set him up.
Right.
That was completely, she got blindsided as much as Gareth did.
So if Laurel is not standing there, do you think that Gareth would have been a little bit more combative?
No,
You don't.
because he has a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he felt that way. He'd already made that decision based on the last conversation he had with Laurel, and kind of saying like,
Yeah.
we're donezo.
Oh, combative against... I was talking combative against Ben in the
Right.
interview
No,
room.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm
okay.
saying he wasn't, because he'd already made he wouldn't have been any different, because he'd already made the decision to do his job more than pursue Laurel. Because I
up the
think the only
professionalism.
reason that he would have played along more would have been for Laurel's sake, like we've talked about or
Okay.
seen him doing in the past, in the saving her sort of way. I think he would have helped play into that more if there was still a picture for them, and there's not. And so I think that it didn't affect. I don't think he would have acted any different.
So in the end, so Gareth can't so I know that we mentioned this earlier, but Gareth mentioned that he can't maintain the relationship with Laurel because of work. And is that a big change from last week in that regard? Because I do feel like he was, last week at least, he was so sensitive. And I think that work in the world of Gareth, throughout this entire season, we've seen him make a lot of sacrifices, not only for Laurel, but we saw him make himself have sacrifices to kind of out Red. He's seen a little bit more of like the big picture. He knows that
Yeah.
Red has not been himself. He knows that
In a
something is
while.
going on. But so we have not seen a true dedication from him in the sense that a normal chief of staff to a senator would be, because he is fighting two sides here, including his own boss. So I guess my question that I'm posing is that, was it surprising that he suddenly is devoted to work, or he's showing this need to be loyal to his job?
I don't think it's surprising at all because I think that he realized now that he has the separation from Laurel that time with her pulled him away from his dedication. Because you don't become a senator's chief of staff without complete dedication.
Right.
And so I think it's that. I think that we are now seeing more of the Gareth that existed before she moved there.
That's reasonable.
Because you think about in the very beginning, you know what I mean? He played her.
In what sense?
Giving her the wrong name at the wrong phone number, or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
I wish I remembered
No,
the
no,
exact
no,
scenario,
okay.
but
I'm
you
just
know,
trying to
when they
remember.
went to the party together.
Yeah.
There were like a couple little things like that he kind of did early on, and then we start to see him open up and loosen and kind of soften towards her and the situation. And we also see that as Red got more extreme. And so it's one of those where he may be just as dedicated to the same line, if you will, but Red has just gotten more extreme. So it seems like he's not as dedicated because he's not pushing the same extremism as Red. But I mean, because now he's got some questions to get answered with, which didn't get talked about at all really tonight or at all. The room in the basement, SRB 54. There's still a lot of unanswered questions down there with the war room. So no, I don't think it was. And I also think it's kind of that natural human instinct that any of us do when we're a little bit scorned it's like that
Space between two people.
It's just
open it up
it's
just
a
little bit more
defense mechanism. So he's closed off and holding his ground to protect his heart. So he's a little bit hard towards her and that whole situation now. And maybe a little bit harder than he ought to be. So I don't think it was weird at all. I was surprised that Laurel wasn't more. She seemed kind of thrown off by his coldness, and it's kind of like, what did you expect?
Yeah,
a little. I surprised she wasn't a little more understanding or expecting of that kind of coldness.
It's
was.
like she wanted him to continue to have the puppy dog love that has been there, and to always just be available. And
and it's like you don't get to cast him aside the way that you did and then have that. And I like them together, and I love that he said, we like each other, like very much admitting like I still have feelings for you.
Right.
But in you putting the brakes on, it gave me the time to recognize, like, this isn't what I want right now.
Yeah.
So as much as he wants it, you know what I mean?
We got 2 episodes left, so we'll see how long it takes before that reverses.
Yes.
But
I hope we have time to see it. I hope it's not something set for future.
I think we will have time. But Ben then later brings in Noah. Like, we need more crazy Noah in our lives. He's got his tote bag that he's clutching. I don't know if you thought it too, but they checked his tote bag for a knife, but I'm thinking, all right, but what else could he have in there? 'Cause it was so awkward. I mean, I can't imagine meeting somebody like that in real life. But he ends up lunging at Ben, which is exactly what he wanted.
And Laurel was surprised.
Right.
I'm like,
come on,
Laurel, you've done this with him before.
Did you think?
Come on.
Did you think that it was right for him to be leading on a guy like Noah, knowing how extremist he is, but still trying to get the material that he wants for this commercial? Is that?
Yes and no. I mean, it's one of those things. It's the same way I kind of feel about reality television. At the end of the day, every single person recorded saying and doing what they're saying and doing actually said and did those things. So on one hand, you still have the ability to choose not to get violent or angry or fill in the blank action. And you did. So Ben could poke and poke and poke and poke. And for instance, Gareth would never lunge at him. You know what I mean? Like, he would never choose to do that.
Right.
But I think that, is it wrong to ask leading questions? I mean,
if it's for the greater good, as in if it really shows the extremism in the way that it is negatively affecting
right,
the country
right.
as a whole.
I think it's one of those things where it's a very gray area, and I know that's not a very fair answer. I mean, I think it's circumstantial.
Sure.
Do I think Ben did anything wrong? I really don't. I think that Ben, in choosing to push his button, push the Noah's buttons, he took the risk that there would be a knife or a something or some sort of physical harm done to him out of his control because he pushed that far. And he wasn't, like, Ben was not going to stop until there was a physical encounter. And I almost feel like he had Laurel on camera because he wanted her unable to try to stop it.
No,
You know what I mean?
I would agree with that.
Because that filmmaker part of her is going to try to still get the shot, even if she doesn't agree with it. You know?
Yep.
That mean, so do I think it was wrong? No, because Noah didn't have to lunge at him.
No.
You know what I mean?
But
And
he was going to anyway. That was
so,
exactly what Ben had in mind.
and I don't think that the questions that Ben asked were unreasonable either.
No,
You know what I
but
mean? He wasn't
leading to some degree, but
I think the questions that he was asking Gareth were a lot more kind of a screw you, dude. I've got you looking bad. Whereas with Noah, it was more like none of the answers to these questions are going to make you look bad. It's it's the attack that you're going to do that's going to make you look bad.
Noah is a quicker fuse.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's easier to light off.
So, and that's what people want to see.
Exactly.
So,
Well,
unfortunately,
so I guess once we see the commercial, we see it's terrible.
Ben's commercial.
Yeah, a better distinction is that it's Ben's commercial. It's awful, and Laurel is deciding whether or not she should edit it. But do you think, in the end, she edits that commercial more so for the content, or more so for Gareth? Do you think that what's her biggest motivation in going into the editing room and actually tackling it?
I think it was for the big picture. I really do. And I think that because she kind of struggled to delete it. You know, it's like she wanted to, but I think she would have used something from his clips if it fit into the story she was telling. I just, like she said, and I think it was the truth, it just didn't fit into the story that I was telling. And I think that the story that she told was a more interesting, better story.
Oh, by far.
And more on point with what's actually going on, because like we kind of were saying earlier, this was about the bugs. I mean, she says, the infection, and it's like, because she can't say space bugs because who's going to listen to that and take her seriously? She had to use this whole, it's not tanks, it's not soldiers, it's an idea. And she's right. And so I loved that she was able to tell the truth and her truth with everything she knows about the bugs and the infection, and use that and put that into a way that everybody understands and agrees.
Right. The video goes viral. It's
Yep.
successful. The vote goes to no war. So Laurel has
Yes.
done her job to save the country.
Yes.
I feel like, and maybe I'm being a little critical, but I really wanted it to be a bigger win for Laurel. I did not feel that the way that the episode was made or written, there was a big enough ending for Laurel. It's like we didn't get to celebrate her win as much. And I think that it was a big turning point for her as a character. Even though it's late in the season, she hasn't had many of those individual wins. She's always been supported by other members of her little clan, including Gustav, Rochelle, and Gareth, including Luke. She doesn't have that win for herself, where she has done something that her own skill has paid off. And this was her highlight. She's best at video editing, producing films, and this was her moment, and she nailed it.
I felt like, well, first I was mad that, she wasn't getting credit, but of course you mentioned to me she can't be the one that's said to get credit because it's her brother's office.
Right.
Or, their party putting it out there. I felt like after Gareth saying, I just need to do my job and kind of our ideas are too different, I felt like she got a win knowing she did it on her own and having him know that she did that. You know what I mean? Like, I know that was you.
Yeah. And
kind of knowing her, it's like he does know her. He knows her heart. He knows her ideas. He knows her music. And I think he really was proud of her. And I think his phone call to her kind of acknowledged the whole doing it on your own. And I think that was kind of her win. But I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I just think that for the reasons you said, she can't get credit for it.
Right.
That she can't get the win.
I mean, maybe all I wanted is like a bigger close up on like Gareth or like Laura. I feel like it wasn't intimate, and maybe that's what it was.
Yeah,
I felt like that there wasn't like an intimate success for her. It's not like Gareth was like wholeheartedly, like genuinely.
Like he didn't show up at her door
exactly like
to tell her in
flowers,
person.
Like, something like that.
Yeah,
but. I mean, it goes to show the space that he is
pushing or respecting.
Respecting, exactly.
So
it leaves off with. I wanted to say one thing. Just because the commercial had little snippets of Red and Ella, which were thrown in there, and I was impressed. Do you think that Laurel went about getting those videos on her own?
Absolutely, I really do. Because I don't think Ben in any way would have stayed that behind the scenes.
No, and I'm trying to think, okay, who could have helped her with that? But it was, again, more filmmaking success by her. And even, I mean, a little unrealistic. Would she be able to actually get the audio from across the hallway for Red and Ella? Probably not, unless she found a way to plant the mic. But one of the quotes from Red was when you talked about if you went out on Fifth Avenue with a flamethrower, people would still be kissing his feet. A little Trump comment that was made earlier in the election season that they threw on in there.
Yes.
In a way, it was a little parody on that.
And since you brought that up, I also wanted to say that we had Luke's dad trying to get him to go to war.
Yeah.
And that's where it's one of those where it's like, oh, Luke, I love you because you're the politician, like you're the guy that's gonna kind of stick to your guns, and so far you always have, and it's like just keep it in your pants. Like, if you can be such a good, productive man in this part of your life, like Laurel says, like why can't you just be that guy all the time?
That says something about his father's state of mind, in my opinion, because I don't know at what point in time it's going to be in Luke's best interest if the end game is war and he somehow makes it to the White House. I don't see that. So I don't know, or I question whether or not his father's true intentions were for the bugs or for his son.
I think for the bugs.
Which is
I think he's infected, and then that's just...
But we've seen a little bit more humanity in him than any other infected people, just because of
he's the only one that's
relationship.
admitted to a non-infected person that he's infected, right?
To our I
him and Laurel have
that.
had a conversation about it.
I don't know if he is the only, but
that has outwardly said I'm infected.
Oh, that has admitted to it
saying,
openly
like,
to a
non-infected person.
Let's
like
just
that's
assume,
that's the only one we've seen that's just like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it? Kind of a thing.
And the guy that was Kevin, who was taped to the pole, I guess he did admit it when he was drunk, but not openly, I should say.
Yeah,
he was held against his will.
Yeah.
But he
hasn't turned them in yet.
He hasn't turned them in yet. No, he hasn't. But I guess we saw the father. He didn't have any intention to turn Laurel. He didn't want to turn Laurel. He wanted to turn his own wife, but he's not going to...
I don't think he could have turned Laurel. I think he knows that.
I don't know if he knows that. I just don't think that he would. He's got that father-daughter relationship. I still think that there is a part of him that is alive inside of the BrainDead.
Well,
head
for now.
For now.
At that point, definitely.
And that's what makes me question a little bit more about his intentions with Luke and what that was about. That's why I was a little bit more curious than others. So, but we had the last scene where Jermaine brought in the musical toy, and our favorite theme song played, as always,
in like a twinkle twinkle,
in
like
a little twinkle twinkle little star
sound,
type
yeah.
fancy way. But again, and we have those in our chat room did agree. Christina's Journey, she also thought that it was after the hospital visit that, in fact, Jermaine was infected. So, and I agree. I think it was post birth.
So we'll have to see if it was Scarlett.
That we will. Any predictions? Last 2 episodes we've got. What do we think is going to happen?
What do they show us?
Is Gustav, is he going to be in next episode? I don't know. I'm crossing my fingers. We want Gustav back. But, I mean, he'll be in the season finale for sure, I think.
Right, definitely.
So, yeah, how do we think this is going to end? Now that war is not going to happen, but we still have Red's SRB 54. We know that there's a plot.
Yeah, I think we find out what they've really been doing down there.
Yeah.
And I think that Gareth finds out first, or, you know, he kind of catches wind of it with some trickery, perhaps, hopefully, some fun trickery, like last time with the internet, taking that down. And I think that he and Laurel, of course, one of them has to employ the other to help them through some sort of debacle, which I think will be Gareth needing Laurel's help in some way and kind of reopening that door a little bit, realizing that at the end of the day, like the nowhere and the one, oh my gosh, the nowhere and the one wayers, yeah, that at the end of the day they have a common goal.
Yeah.
That supersedes some of the smaller, I don't want to say smaller beliefs to discredit, but you know, that this guaranteed end result is more important than our personal thoughts on how we get there, you know, in other aspects of politics. So.
Right.
So that's what I think. And
I do have one bold prediction, and that is
blow my
I
mind.
think that Gareth is going to end up killing Red. I think that
in the next
I
episode.
think in the season finale. I think that Red,
Ooh.
they have to topple the king somehow, and I think that will be
that
Gareth
Gareth kills him.
I do. I think that's the
don't
only
like
way it can go
that.
down.
Oh, well, didn't Gareth see the queen?
I don't know.
Little, you know what I'm saying? Because he was like kind of like looking through a doorway,
Queen.
and like it looked like
Was that this
she
episode?
was out. That was in the teaser.
Oh, it was in the
No,
teaser.
in
Oh,
the
for
teaser
next episode. Oh,
yeah.
got you. I don't know. I missed it.
Oh,
But-
well, it's you know the way that they cut those. It's so hard to tell if those are like if that's like a scene or if those are just two different, totally separate clips where they're showing him looking through a doorway and then they're showing a totally different time with a total, you know.
Exactly.
But it kind of looked like he caught a glimpse of like the big queen bug.
Okay.
Or maybe it was the male then, because I think it was Ella that he saw.
Got you.
Anyways, so
Either
I
way,
think
it'll
Gareth kind of employs Laurel and goes to her and kind of says, "All right, I'm in. You're not crazy. This bug thing, it's real." And that may be how they get to this. I'm not really killing Red because Red's dead.
Right.
Red's dead. I don't know. But he kind of is. Like,
In many respects.
they knocked on.
Yep. He's
And I'm just going to throw this out there. I kind of hope it doesn't happen. But I think we're going to see Red eat more from the Tupperware.
You do?
I hope. I don't want to see that, but I kind of do. It's kind of gross. Like, I just maybe they feed
2 weeks.
Maybe
2
they
weeks later.
feed that to the.
Do brains last 2 weeks? God.
I don't know. Mine's lasted 30 years.
There you go. Throwing.
Ching.
Hey.
I won't quit my day job.
But yeah, okay. So
Let us know what your predictions are.
Yeah, let us know your predictions. We've got 2 more weeks. It's flown by, really.
Yes.
But not much left this season. So I hope things pick up this next episode. Courtney, tell us where they can find you on social media.
I am on Instagram and Twitter at Cohen, Couhen.
And I am on Twitter and Instagram, but you can find me on Twitter at @TheKevinEllis or on Instagram at KevinEllis25. Thank you all for joining us this
Yes,
week.
thank you.
As always, it has been fantastic. Thank you for those who are joining us in the chat room. EGB Red Sox, Christina's Journey, as always, Starman. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week. Lucretia will be back.
Yes.
And so will Courtney and I. Take care.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.